Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of y'all and peace out to the rest of you. Yeah, hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So I don't want to take too long for this, but I'm gonna tell y'all straight, man, and I am in a bit of a mood now, but yeah, endogamy, we're just not ready for it. Just call it what it is. I'm talking to both the black community, partially because of pro-blacks and pro-wax, because they ain't the same. One sincere and means well, the other one, even if they don't mean any harm, they don't really mean well because they don't want to have even the slightest bit of self-discipline. So I'm gonna call it what it is, man. And in the golden sphere as well. We're not ready for endogamy. Now that's what's, in the black community, that's actually what's going on anyway by practice, but we're not ready to promote that. I'm gonna tell you why. Look, let's take that lady in Connecticut. I understand it's Connecticut. I get it. But here she is, a healthy former track star in her 20s, goes on Bumble. That's where women have to make the first move. Makes the first move to an older Wyatt. He shows up somewhere down the line. She becomes unresponsive. We don't know what the deal is, but he has to be investigated. Now he reported it. He called the cops to come check up on her. So he may not know himself, or he did something. Whatever the case was, he has to be investigated. The point is that these deaths are happening not at the hands of brothers. We know no matter what she does, she better be alive and unharmed by the time you leave the scene. We know this. We also know there probably need to be witnesses. Look what happened when that man found out that his wife-to-living girlfriend was cheating. What is that? Wow. A video just started on my phone without me touching it. Anyway, sorry about that. So we already know that she had to go and make the first move, and look what happens. We already know that it ain't brothers that are doing this. We already know that man, and that was a New Orleans couple, I could tell by the accent. That man had found out his living girlfriend was cheating, packed her bags up as a gift and said, just fit the guck out, you cheated. Where I'ma go? Yeah, it's up to you. Get on out. He had to tell her several times. We already know we're not allowed to argue when we're told to leave. We already know all these things. She goes on Bumble to make the first move and winds up dead, and this ain't the first time this happening. These things keep coming up. We can't make this up. I'm gonna tell you, gentlemen, what's going on right now on Mawali Africa, and your listeners, I should say. I'm talking to y'all, pro-black folk. You gotta stop telling men to limit themselves to sisters. Men are going to do, most brothers are doing it anyway, but stop saying this out loud. Here's why. You already got sisters talking about divesting. You got them doing it, even if they don't know about the divesting groups online, and they're winding up on somebody's slab being examined in an autopsy. This is what we got going on right now. And all it's doing is leading to a scenario in which a lot of black men got to be stepfathers before they even become fathers. And that's just not fair. You got some of these divestors sitting up saying we don't care about being fair. And it's part of how this war got started. So I'm like, man. So we just ain't ready. We're not ready for this enforced endogamy. It's not gonna work. All it's doing really is setting up a situation in which the ladies can do whatever the F they want. Anything we don't want, actually. And they're encouraged to do whatever the hell we don't want. And then come back later on. And then choose guys they've been passing over to be the stepdads. Never the dads, but the stepdads. That's all it is. All this has led to is a situation that they've abused so that they can do everything they want with the least deserving men and then take from the most deserving men the most and put the most responsibilities on them. That's all that's happened. That's all it's led to. In Golden Sphere, we haven't broken away from this yet. We haven't broken away from this dysfunction yet enough. And I'm going to tell you what I mean. See, right now, one of the most revolutionary things that could happen is you take, he's golden, she's golden, they get together, start a strong family. One that's going to stick together. You know what I've realized? Nobody's ready for that. And one of the ways I know that, well, that's exactly what happened in my parents' case, although they didn't select each other based on this. Yet and still, this wound up being the case. And what I've come to understand looking back is that the community wasn't ready for my brother and me. They weren't ready for my parents. See, most of the black community is actually not pro-black. We were. And we wound up being in cases that we were expected, seriously and actually expected, to get out there and march and do this and that and the other when nobody else had to. I remember sitting down at dinner with my parents, having the phone ring. My folks would answer thinking they're just going to tell somebody we're having dinner, we'll get back to them, and it would be somebody who wasn't supposed to have our number, didn't know us from Adam. But because my folks were known, actually my mother was more known for this, they would call up and start with a sob story. My baby's facing life in prison. It's his third strike. Can you help? Can you call some people? I mean, that type thing. My mother realized that being pro-black and being known for it meant that people were coming to her with regular N-word problems. And so really we look back and we think that we wasted a lot of years trying. Really did. Because in all honesty, what does that have to do with the golden sphere? I understand. Well, see, what I'm saying is that it's the same thing. You're going to wind up with those who do this actually practice this endogamy are going to wind up having kids for whom neither the black community nor such a golden community, independently or a subset of the black community, would be ready for. That's what will wind up happening. That's what the case would be. And again, in both cases, it ain't men that are sitting up here making the communities unready for endogamy. The men are not sitting up here saying, we're not going to settle for women that are like us. We're not saying that. Black, admixed, or unmixed, it doesn't matter. The men aren't doing that. Hell, men are sitting up here willing to date and marry women that are bisexual. Men are willing to entertain this stupid fantasy of turning a woman that's into other women straight. Women don't entertain that. Why? They're not willing to compete with each other. They're not willing to compete with other women. They're not willing to compete with a dude for a dude, and shouldn't have to. I get that. But see, part of it, and this is why I got to point the finger at the men again. A lot of this, gentlemen, has to do with the fact that you are not willing to look at or consider male chastity. Oh, that's too unrealistic. Men ain't gonna do it. Yeah, well, okay. Well, until men start doing this, start looking at all the reasons for which they can strike out and consider those valid reasons for which to eliminate ladies, neither community is really gonna be ready for endogamy as it is, because we've talked so much about endogamy and just been too easy. That's why the ladies are acting the way they are. So, Wally, let's not talk about endogamy, man. And not just you, but the whole pro-black side. Quit talking about endogamy. Keeping it with sisters. You can do it. We can talk about this where they can't hear it. And that's what I'd recommend. Get a Telegram group where ain't nothing but dudes. Get a Discord group where ain't nothing but dudes if you want to talk about it. And even then, what you're going to find is they ain't. Oh, here's the other thing, too. A lot of these sisters that are talking about divest, they got ties. Here's the thing. When they start talking about divest, when they start talking about getting the bag, a lot of them got ties to witchcraft. It starts with tarot cards sometimes, but they got ties to witchcraft. That's another thing. So anyway, thanks for listening. Y'all know the drill. And I'm so glad that I said what I said on that chat earlier, that pro-black chat. Black, heterosexual, non-select male power just because they don't like it in black patriarchy till extinction or judgment day. Black heart, black mind, black out till next time.